Hi, everyone. I am Lorianne. I am that gal from Milton, Ontario, Canada, and I'm with.
I am that guy, Roy Miller from Dallas, Texas, and this is our How We See It podcast. Welcome.
So we're very glad to welcome Ann Landstrom today. She is, I have to say this right, an award-winning master photographer. Just a wonderful background. I was reading up on her bio, and I'm looking forward to interviewing her today. And I also like the idea that instead of using the word photogenic, she uses soulgenic. So she's got a very different way of photographing people. So welcome, Anne. Thank you very much for being here with us.
Yes. Yes.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate that. I'm excited to talk to you guys.
Well, good. So can you tell us how you got started in photography?
Yes, I am originally from Sweden. I'm a Swedish import, just like Volvo and Swedish meatballs. I ended up in the United States. My family, my father and my brother and my mother, who now passed, but they still were back in Sweden. And back then, I came here in 1983. We still had no digital cameras, so it was all taking pictures, real pictures. And I took a lot of pictures and sent them back home to show my parents and my brother how I lived. And eventually when I had children, showing them their grandkids. And I was a housewife for a while, and I've always been into art. And I used to go and take art classes at the local college and paint. And my father said, well, why don't you go and take a photography class? So, because you always send home all these great pictures, and maybe you can make some money rather than wasting your time painting. That was his fatherly advice. And I did. So I went and took photography 101 and fell in love with it, never looked back. I took every single course at that college and ended up with my photography certificate, and then start working in advertising for photography after that.
Fantastic. I read somewhere, and I know this is interesting, a lot of people wonder about it, but I know the history that you were also trained by Playboy Photographer. Now, where we're talking about this, I know that Playboy always picked the top of the top. I know David Chan was one of the top photographers, and I found that fascinating. How was that?
Well, I took a course. They had a course in Miami, and I flew out there and spent, I believe it was a week, that I got to learn from two of the top photographers that recently was shooting for Playboy, and also the editor of Playboy was there talking to us. So I learned a lot about posing for women, lighting, flattering, what's not flattering. And so, yeah, it's a very interesting, most of my clients don't look like the Playboy bunnies, but, but I have learned how to make them look the best version of themselves.
It's beautiful.
Right. So you said you started in the 80s, right? Probably around that in the 80s doing photography, or was it 90s?
Yeah, well, let's see here. My middle son is born 94, so right around 94.
The mid-90s?
Yeah.
So how has photography changed, in your opinion, from there to now? What is your view of that?
Well, it's changed quite a bit in terms of technology, number one. I had invested a lot of money in great equipment, film equipment, like Hasselblad, who was the Rolls Royce of cameras back then with, amazing lenses. And once digital came, we all thought, oh, it's going to be 10 years before, that takes off. Yeah, right. No, that didn't happen. I mean, it took off pretty quickly, the digital world with digital photography. And what I spent buying one lens for my Hasselblad, I think I sold my whole outfit, which had 4 or 5 lenses, all these. I mean, I probably had spent at least $10,000 or more on the original, and got zero really when I sold it. It was a sad day.
Yeah, technology can kill you financially.
Yes, and so from being in the dark room, and I learned in photography school how to develop my own black and white. I even developed my own film. You stood there and you shook it, you know, and all this stuff for in the dark. And now, obviously, that's obsolete. And you sit in front of your computer and you figure out how to manipulate your images that way, which is it's a whole different twist of things.
That's fascinating. I know that my daughter got into photography and she was showing me some of her cameras, and then like you were saying, the cost of them now is just amazing, but so is what they can capture.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you have a, excuse me, Lauren, do you have a recommendation for someone that's wanting to get started? You know, kind of a camera that they might consider, you know, price range, etc.
Well, there's a lot of cameras out there on the market. It depends where you want to go. If you're just a hobbyist, or do you want a camera that you can exchange the lenses with, or do you want a camera that has a zoom that you don't have to do anything, everything is there. It depends where you want to take your photography. I believe if you want to invest in getting decent equipment, invest in the lens, because the glass and the sharpness, and it's that's where it's at. So if you want to put your money on something, invest, make sure either whatever camera you decide to buy, that the lens is a good optical lens.
Or were you going to say something, Lorianne? Because I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, sorry, I forgot. My dogs started to get a little bit rough here because they're like your dog. No.
So what is your favorite thing to photograph? The thing that really draws you? People?
Yep.
Any particular age group or anything?
No, it's turned into a little bit of a passion and a curse at the same time. Like I could sit and look at you right now and look at how I would photograph you. So it's like any person that I come across, that's the first thing I look at. Like, okay, yeah, I could do that, and you know how you move your head, or how you get the best version of you. So it's interesting how I always think about that now.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, that's what you do every day, so that's it's an automatic reaction, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So do you do any, like, do you travel around taking pictures of people as well in different environments?
I do location work, not as much anymore. I used to be more, before I had my studio, it was a lot more location, because I didn't have a studio. So it was either outside, or I was also a wedding photographer for a few years, and also photograph families. And now these days, my expertise and specialty is personal branding and boudoir.
Oh, wow. Really?
Wow.
I would think wedding photography would be a pretty tough go, trying to please the people.
I loved it for many years, because I love, and seeing the whole experience of people being in love, and all the what goes into a wedding day behind the scenes, you know, before the bride walks down that aisle, and seeing everything behind that I get to capture, and then the moments afterwards. I thought it was I love doing that and documenting that for people, and seeing people in love, and you know, that was special. But yes, you can definitely have, most of the time it was the bride's mother who was the problem.
I can attest to that.
So is, from that experience, is that kind of where you developed the Soulgenic?
The Soulgenic came, a lot of my clients, or potential clients, or clients that look at my work say, well, I'm not photogenic. I can't look like that. And whoever came up with that word, photogenic compared to who? We are all individual people. I mean, who determines that I'm photogenic and Lorianne is not, or she is and I'm not. I mean, we are all unique individuals. So I thought, you know what, we're going to scrap that word in my studio and we're going to capture people's souls, because that's what I tried to do anyway, to capture people's personality. And so photogenic, we don't use that word. It's a banned word in the studio.
I like that. And I would think that some people come in and they're very nervous getting their picture taken. I mean, I know when I was getting mine done, I was all nervous. Now, you said that you have a way of sometimes calming people down. You've got a little friend that comes in with you.
I do, yes. She's getting quite famous. It's Luna de Woodle. She's a little black 15 pounds rescue dog that is Wheaten Terrier and mini poodle mix. And what she does, she greets everybody at the door. She comes up on her, jumps up, give a little snuggles and check everybody's bags to see if they're a cat or a dog person. Goes through, and during the session, she comes up and just checks in. Sometimes she comes and lays on their dresses or whatever they're doing, and being a photo bomber. And now everybody's been asking can I have a picture with Luna? Her name is Luna. And I go, sure. So now we created Luna's landing page on my website. So she's getting her fame now as well.
I love that.
Yeah.
But it's like she actually puts people at ease, because she comes right to the door. Like you said, people are nervous. Most people would rather go to the dentist than go and have their picture taken. And she kind of fixes that right away, because it breaks the ice as soon as people walk in, and she's there and she's super cute and soft, just like a live little teddy bear. And
Well, I think most people don't like to have their pictures taken because, like you say, they don't think they're photogenic. I think that's a pretty common for most people. Would you agree?
Well, we are our worst critic. When we look in the mirror, we don't compliment all the good things that we see. We always pick the stuff that we don't like. And having your picture taken, you have to take all your masks and layers off and really actually accept who you are, right? Because whatever comes and looks back at you from the camera is the mirror of what you see. And there's a lot of people who don't like that because of self-confidence issues, or whatever is the underlying issue. And I feel that for me, it's a passion to help people fall in love with themselves again, with showing them the images that comes out of my camera and say, this is how I see you and everybody else.
Oh, that's perfect. So in regards to clothing, I would imagine that prior to, you would give recommendations of what people would bring for clothing?
Yes. We do a consultation, usually on Zoom, before in person, but on Zoom now. And sometimes for branding, if there's a personal branding, we either have a stylist that comes on board, and they either hire her to go shopping. She can do a Zoom in their closet. She can send them links or where to shop. Sometimes I'm the one that do Zoom in the closet with my clients, and they show me, and I go, yes, no, and they show the outfits. And it's really helpful because a lot of people don't really know. Rather than bringing everything in the kitchen sink, we narrow it down to 4 or 5 outfits, and that works really well.
And I would imagine there's certain things that don't work for branding. I mean, we were just talking about that, Roy and I, is a sort of a more solid look versus polka dots better, or does it really depend on what you're branding?
I tell clients to stay away from patterns. I mean, if there's a polka dot or it's not too super busy, depending on what color, I mean, if it's neon green and bright orange polka dots, that might be a little busy. But if it's a solid black and white or anything like that, you want to focus on you and your expression, and not on the clothing as much as you wear it. You want the clothing to be visually pleasing and also on brand for what you do and who you are and how you want to present yourself to the world, what client you want to attract. if you want to attract a corporate client, you're not going to come in and be photographed in flip-flops and shorts, right? So it all depends also what client that you want to attract.
So going back, you said you do boudoir photography as well, right?
Yes.
So it seems like to me that there's and I may be wrong, a trend that more middle-aged up people are getting those photographs. Have you seen that, or do you see that in your business?
My clients range from 20 up to, I say, 60 when it comes to that.
Yeah.
I do, for the younger women, I do brides that like to give that as a gift to their future husband on their wedding day. They do a beautiful album, and that's their gift to him. I get also, I'm in the area where there's a lot of military. So I get military wives that want to send images to their husbands. I get women that are in the military that are in a male-dominated industry that lose their feminine essence, that need to come in and kind of bring that out for themselves. I'm also running a campaign right now that I call 40 over 40, and that is to get women over 40 to accept who they are for right now, not how they, most of us have had children after 40, careers, although we're always on the bottom of the list on, and tapping into feeling feminine and sexy is sort of our superpower as women. And a lot of us forget that, or some women haven't even seen that in themselves. Some women has gone through issues in their life, and their self-esteem or self-confidence has been crushed, and they don't see themselves as beautiful or anymore. So I'm doing a whole campaign right now that is all about self-love for women over 40. I interview them much like we're doing right now on Zoom. They get to tell their story, but whatever that might be. I've heard anything from childhood drama to drug addiction to bad divorces to losing loved ones and how that have affected them. And why am I doing that? Well, to share stories is you can always inspire somebody else. You don't know who's going to be watching, and if you can help one person with your story, that's a win-win to me. And once the story is released out to the universe, not only can you help somebody else, but it also releases to you as a person. It doesn't belong to you anymore. So it's almost like therapy to be able to release it. And then they come into the studio and they get a full makeover. They come in with no hair and makeup done. I have a fabulous hair and makeup artist, and they get a full makeover. And then they get a glass of champagne, we put on music, and I tell them, okay, today you get to pretend to be whoever you want to be. Who do you want to be? What's your stage name for the next hour? And, we come up with a name. Beyonce has her stage name, Sasha Fierce. Mine is Scarlett Lamar. And they get to pick who they want to be. And it works. And I see huge transformations in my studio of women that we look at the back of the camera and they start crying because they have never seen themselves in that light or believe that they can look that way. I've had women like Lisa Nichols, who's a huge transformational speaker. I was fortunate enough to photograph her, both branding and her boudoir session. And she talks about it from stage all the time, how much that changed how she saw herself. That was like her missing piece. So it's pretty powerful.
And women over 40 quite often, 50, particularly, I think it gets worse as you get older. But you tend to start seeing more and more of your flaws because obviously gravity pulls in. But you're right, you're not looking at the other side, and you're always sitting there going, I'm going to lose another 10 pounds. Well, maybe you don't need to. So if you're taking the photograph and you're showing them you're beautiful as you are, that doesn't put that pressure on them anymore, really,
Yeah.
you know, or as much
Yes.
to feel that need, right? So,
Correct. Yeah, and I have photographed all shapes, all ages. My curviest woman that I photographed was almost 400 pounds in boudoir style,
wow.
and beautiful. I mean, beautiful images of her, and she, you know, she still talks about how that made her. Yes, it's not so much about the images; it's more about the experience of tapping into that feminine essence, taking your clothes off literally, and owning who you are right then and there, that moment, without thinking about, oh, I need to lose those extra pounds, or I looked a lot better 25 years ago. It's all about accepting who you are right now.
I love that.
Well, that's got to be very rewarding to you, I would think,
Yes.
from your first interview with the person till the end, and see
Yeah.
what is done for them. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, and their reactions, and you know, and the change.
Yeah. It's
And
it's beautiful. I feel like I'm getting 40 new best friends because they're, number one, they're trusting me with their story. We have, even though it's on Zoom, we already have a bond before they come in, and it's the I think the nervousness has diminished because of we do the interview first, so we kind of feel like we have a relationship already, and then going through the whole experience from taking the pictures, then showing them the pictures again. We do another Zoom call or in studio if they're local, and we go through all the images and they get to see that. And a lot of times I do a video. So I put together a whole slideshow from when they come to the studio. I kind of do little film clips, and when they're in makeup and behind the scenes, maybe my little dog comes up and do something funny, and I film that. And then I put it all together with their images, so they have like the whole experience relived again. And it's amazing because when there's tears being shed because they had no idea that they can look like that. And that's why a lot of people say I'm not photogenic. I don't look like those people in the magazines, and I prove them wrong.
so like when you first meet a person on your initial Zoom, and by the time you go through your interview with them, and they come to your studio, in your mind, you pretty much have the concept for them down, correct?
Yeah.
So you mean,
Yeah.
based on what you've said and seen, talked to them, and you kind of think, okay, I think she needs to do this. This will be perfect for her. Yeah.
Yeah, I can kind of feel also what their comfort is, or I also ask them, and some people know exactly, oh, I know exactly what to bring. I'm going to bring this, I know what I want to look like. And some people are like, I have no idea. You don't even, you know, a lot of us women over 40, we walk around in our cotton underwear up to our belly button, and you know, that's our comfy
granny panties.
Granny panties, and we left the sexuality at the checkout counter at Walmart when we bought those, right? So I have to coach them into, here you need to go here to shop, or this is where you need to get, or this is what, you know, will look good on your body, or, yeah.
I have a question. Sorry, Roy. How different is it to photograph women? And I imagine I see that you have men too that you photograph. Is there a big difference between photographing the two? I mean, in attitude and everything.
I thought that, you know, women first, before I really start focusing on men or photographing men, I had all women on my website. And then I had this one guy contact me, and he had, he's like, I want to hire you as my photographer. And I go, why? I don't have any men on my website. Why me? And he goes, well, I looked at a lot of photographers, and if you can make those women look that good, you can make me look good too.
Makes sense.
True.
Yeah, and I thought like men it's not as important for them, but it is. A lot of men in my studio can't believe that they can look a certain way too, or that I can capture their personality or their essence or soul, or however you want to put it. So it's, I think it's men value it as much as women do.
Are they as nervous usually, or do you
No.
find out the same? No, they're not.
No, at least they don't show it as much. They have a better shield.
They probably are nervous.
Yeah. Yeah, but when it comes to editing, men are also like, hey, can you fix that? See that stomach sticking out right there? Can you push it in a little bit? So they are also a little bit concerned about how they look like.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's fun.
Oh yeah. So you know, overall, have you photographed any famous people?
I have photographed some public figures, a few of them behind me on the wall. Les Brown, who is probably one of the top male all-time transformation motivational speakers. Lisa Nichols, which is also, I get a lot of speakers and coaches and authors and in my studio. So, and then I photographed Oprah's boyfriend, Stedman.
Oh.
So I was one separation away from Oprah, which is on my list to photograph one day. So I would love to photograph her. Yeah.
Yeah. So is there anything that you haven't done that you want to do? Have you got that goal out there you're working for?
Yes, I have a lot of goals. My big goal is, it's a big project that I can't put together myself, but I'm starting to put it out in the universe, and people are seeing my vision. And my big vision would be, say, start in my town, San Diego, that say you come as a visitor and you come to our city and you get off the airport. Well, what if the gateways and part of the airport had, say, I'm seeing black and white images, big black and white images of the people who live in that city. And on each picture, there is a barcode, and you can scan that with your phone that will take you to a website that tells the stories of who that person is, or what do they like to do in her city, and who is he and she. So putting a project together like that is involved an app, a magazine, a website, so it could like build to even be a networking thing, and start building that, and that could be eventually worldwide. I mean, you know, the sky's the limit as far as I'm concerned. So that's my big vision.
That's a pretty nice concept, I think.
Yeah.
Really nice.
Because you don't know, when you come to an airport, to say a city you've never been, you don't really know, you know, it just looks like an airport. But figure if you had people's faces or people that live there, it would give that city more of a life, right? Like you give it more of a personality. And I'm not talking about just famous people that live there. It could be anybody. It could be the homeless guy on the street to, you know, the richest or the most famous one that lives there, and anything in between, just to tell people stories. And I would love to make this into an inspirational project, that whoever had their picture up on the wall had done something for their city or had something inspirational to share.
That's interesting too, because it could also take away from a central purpose for people going there. So let me just put quickly in perspective. I lived in Reno, Nevada, and of course people go there and they would go to the casinos, but there's so much more outside of that. So when they come in here, it would give them the view that it's not just about casinos, it's about the history that's there along with it and the different places you can go. And I like that idea, because if someone's there for one purpose, they'll see there's more there. Just like Texas, right?
Everybody, Texas. I always got to talk about Texas. No, but what I was thinking of, you know, you don't have to be rich, you don't have to be famous, because no matter who you are, everybody has a story.
Yeah.
There's something interesting about everyone. And so, I mean, that would, to me, that would be an amazing thing to do, is to be able to go through there and see Mary Jones or, you know, Bob Smith, you know, everyday person. But then if you get to reading about him, you go, wow, you know, this guy, you know, he was a hero in the military, or you know what I mean? But it's just,
absolutely.
People have interesting stories.
Yeah, you're getting my concept. That exactly is what I want to do. Yes. And
I think that would be that's a neat idea.
Because everybody has a story, no matter if it's big or small. And even if some people have maybe similar stories, their experiences were different. Everybody's going to experience something in a different way.
Yeah. That's
for sure.
That's really a neat idea. Well, that's very creative. Except you're a creative person, right?
Yes, definitely a right-brainer.
Did you approach anyone yet about it? Like, I would think that.
I've started to talk to people about it, and I'm in a mastermind, and I've thrown, you know, we have hot seats where we brainstorm about things, and I put this up a couple times and gotten some incredible feedback and ideas, and now have started to put it out there with people that I would want to have like on the board, you know, that and so it's starting to form. I'm not quite ready yet to, you know, take it full force, because I want to have a plan, a business plan, a blueprint to go and take to the city and say, hey, this is what we would like to, you know, where are we with this? And supposedly I'm photographing the mayor of San Diego coming up in a couple of weeks. So I'll have him in the studio that I can pick his brain.
That is perfect. Great opportunity.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think that would be fantastic for the tourism for the city.
Yeah.
You know?
And somehow what I like to do is, say if they had to purchase the magazine or purchase a membership or whatever it is to be able to tap into this, that some of the funds will go back to feeding the homeless to that city.
Nice.
Great idea.
Very different.
Well,
and then San Diego will be the first place that started it when it goes worldwide. Started in San Diego.
Right.
With Ann.
Yes. Hey, dream big, right? That's and then walk towards it. That's how it works. Manifest.
Well, but that would be quite a legacy.
Yeah.
Quite a legacy.
Yeah.
So do you have anything that you want to tell us about where people can find you or where they can find Luna?
Okay, sure. Yeah, like I said, I'm in Carlsbad, San Diego, California. And my website is annphotography.com. That's ANN photography.com. My phone number is 760-610-6263. And I'm happy to give a little gift today of a branding guide, a downloadable. It's a downloadable PDF. I can show you the paper version of it. This is how it looks like. And it talks about branding and shows you why do you need to brand yourself today? Why is it important to show up in your business and brand, showing who you are as a person rather than just a little small headshot, so people get to know you before they do business with you.
That's excellent. And where would they go? Just to your website to get that download?
Yeah, or I can give you the link so you can have it on your, I'm not quite sure how you do it, or on the website. Yeah, or they can contact me and I can send it to them.
Okay, perfect. Okay, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Do you have any more questions, Roy?
No, I don't. You know, but I want to thank you for coming on, Ann. I really enjoyed it, and I think you've got an awesome dream.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
I'm grateful and appreciate for being on your show today. Thank you for having me. It was a lot of fun.
Right.
Okay.
So to our listeners out there, this are the people watching. This is going to be on podcast. It's right across for Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher. So listen out for it. And we also have the Zoom that's going to be here on YouTube. Thank you.
Okay.